Uh, this process called life cycle cost analysis is relatively new and is a process which I might say is encouraged, pushed in a big way by the U.S. Department of Transportation. But it's a process where you look at just not the cost of doing something in today's dollars, but rather the cost of that process over a life cycle. This is a matter involving, as it is in this bill with the amendments that I've submitted, involving transportation and more specifically paving of roadways and what you use to pave them. If you could pave them with sand, it would be relatively cheap at the front end, but it would only last a week. So what would you gain by that? What this process, life cycle cost analysis, does is consider not just that front end cost, but how long, whatever it is you're doing, lasts, and what it costs to maintain it over that life cycle. It's a fairly simple process. Now, I will tell you that the process is somewhat open to manipulation by either changing the characteristics or changing the weight that you assign to each characteristic on a job-by-job basis. Thus, House Bill 1325. What this bill says, basically, is that the department shall adopt regulations that will set out what the characteristics are, what the weight of those characteristics are, submit that to the decision makers, submit it to the to the Board of Public Works when the decision is made. They can ignore it if they want, but they will be the facts as to the cost of the project. It's a very simple bill.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to speak here. My name is Martha Marmo Fernandez, and I own a ready-mix concrete company in Baltimore, Maryland. I employ 18 Maryland residents, and all we're asking for is an equal opportunity to bid on a fair playing field when Maryland makes decisions about pavement. We believe that Maryland Department of Transportation is not taking advantage of ready-mix concrete for paving projects. I feel that concrete pavement is a wonderful option that offers increased value and sustainability for fewer tax dollars. The Massachusetts Institute of Technology has confirmed through their life cycle cost analysis that concrete is competitive with asphalt on the initial cost and offers a 25% cost savings over the lifespan of the road. We also have data that shows asphalt paving prices goes down when concrete is present as competition. Did you know that 98% of Maryland roads are paved with asphalt? These roads often require substantial replacement every 10 to 15 years. The state uses 1 to 2 inch asphalt overlay and expects the surface to last for about 7 through 15 years. The reality is the road may only deteriorate and start to deteriorate after 3 to 5 years. This translates into the Department of Transportation having to resurface the asphalt roads 3 or 4 times during the lifespan of that road. While asphalt is a petroleum-based product, the price is extremely volatile. The cost of concrete has remained relatively flat over the past 10 years and is not subject to wide fluctuations. On projects that call for asphalt, there are clauses that provide for price changes as the price of asphalt changes. Data is not available in Maryland for the at-bid cost versus the at-built cost for asphalt. MDOT should be tracing these cost differences. Ready-mix concrete pavement has many benefits. We know that concrete is competitive from a pricing standpoint. Concrete is also sustainable and durable. 81% of the goods shipped in Maryland travel by truck. Concrete pavement is more fuel efficient, and MIT found that heavy trucks can save as much as 7% on fuel costs when traveling on concrete pavement. From an environmental standpoint, concrete pavement leaves a smaller carbon footprint. Many of the materials used to make concrete are recyclable. Concrete reduces the urban heat-land effect, and many of the materials used to make concrete are also locally available, and that would help from increasing the employment within our state. The bottom line is that concrete pavement lasts significantly longer than asphalt, and that is why MDOT should take advantage of concrete when selecting materials and use tools such as the lifestyle cost analysis to maximize taxpayers' dollars. As Maryland struggles to fund new roads and maintain existing roads, I urge you to consider HB 1325 as a tool that will assist the Department of Transportation to make good economic decisions and also to allow for more fair competition. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for your time. My name is Stephen Tripp with Cheney Enterprises, a local family-owned construction materials company. When I first joined the paving industry, I attended an SHA presentation noting that Maryland's funds from the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act were going mostly to resurfacing, and none of that work would be open to competitive pavement options. With a young family, I realized that while my children would spend the rest of their lives paying down the debt incurred for these resurfaced roads, the roads would be resurfaced again before they are old enough to drive on them. They will never drive on pavements they will have to pay for. I've asked James, my oldest son, how he feels about that. You can imagine what his answer was. SHA leadership told us that the materials for resurfacing projects were not competitively bid because of MOT, maintenance of traffic, which is the much needed effort to keep traffic moving during construction. We were told that concrete takes too long. Working with SHA, we developed a demonstration that took a 70,000-pound mixer truck driving only over 6-hour-old, 3-inch thick concrete, yet still no competitive road resurfacing projects came. Later, we met again with SHA and even DOT leadership about MOT and life cycle costing, but still no competitive road resurfacing projects came. The SHA will try and warn you of the many complaining calls you will get from the traveling public if lane closures are any different than they already are. But I assure you of this, Maryland did not invent traffic and congestion, neither do we have exclusive rights to it. Other states with competitive two-pavement systems have solved these problems and are ready to share what, to Maryland, is innovation, but to them is common practice. But at over 98% of SHA maintained roads being surfaced in asphalt, Maryland has created a paving monopoly as one of the least competitive states in the nation. It's my experience that the traveling public will be okay with a few extra minutes of traffic on a weekend if they understand that it will save them time and money over the life cycle. Think of the cost of MOT on the same spot over and over again. Just wasted money. As an illustration, while the miles of roads maintained by SHA has only increased less than 2% since 1997, the cost to maintain those roads has more than doubled. Yet we still have a system that is in desperate need of help. If you're looking for money, that waste is where you can find it. This spending is perpetual and unsustainable. I remember working on a Saturday on a turn lane where asphalt was consistently shifting under the heavy traffic conditions. On 2 separate occasions, motorists rolled down their window to ask what we were doing with the concrete. We explained that we were putting concrete in so we would not have to come back and fix this again for decades. Despite the minor inconvenience we were to both of them, they both told us that we needed to do that more, and we couldn't agree more. That's the conclusion that an educated public and an educated legislature will come to. I strongly encourage you to do the right thing in supporting HB 1325. Lower paving costs, increase environmental stewardship, introduce fair competition into Maryland, and give my children a road they can actually use. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Henry Prenger. I'm engineer with Lafarge Cement. I'm a graduate of Baltimore Polytechnic Institute, of Morgan State University, of Johns Hopkins University. I'm a Maryland boy, Baltimore boy. I'm also a graduate of Maryland State Highway Administration. And I think I learned more in my years at Maryland State Highway than I did in all of those fine institutions about how to be an engineer. It's a great place to work. They have smart people there. And we're not here to cast any aspersions that way. I got a call, and it was, can you talk about life cycle cost analysis? What do you know about it? And I said, well, I used to do it 20 years ago or more when I worked for the state. And what do you want to know? Because I can't remember a whole lot about 20 years ago. So the question was, well, the state's come forward and they've said that the cost of doing life cycle cost analysis is a lot. And they threw some figures at me, and I'm thinking, I did it when I was a young engineer for $30,000 a year, and it was only part of my work, and I think I got ripped off. So I'm willing to go back now as a consultant. Seriously, it wasn't that hard back then, but I do realize things change, and I have kept touch with that part of the industry, and life cycle cost analysis has changed in that 20 years. So I went to the experts, the guys that are doing it right now at MIT, and said, you've got the most recent research. You're, besides, Hopkins guys and Morgan guys, you're the smartest guys in the country. What do you have to say? What is the ruling from MIT? Here's what the state says it's going to cost us. And they said, well, we think that the figures are way out of line. And they showed us what consultants were charging to do life cycle cost analysis. So having worked for the state, I understand that sometimes you get into these systems and they become very convoluted. And I think that there are simpler ways to do it and there are better ways to do it. And I talked to the people at MIT, and they're willing to help us with that. And it's just not MIT. Federal Highway Administration has a great program also to do this. So I would disagree respectfully with the figures that are coming back from the state. I think we need to look at that harder. And I think on the other side of it, having performed it before, when you do this, you can see where the real savings come back to you. And the other thing that you get, there's some guys back here from the asphalt industry that are good guys and they have a good product. When we do competition with the asphalt guys head to head, they bring their A game. They can put a really good product down. When we're competing head to head, we bring our A game. We can put a really good product down. So it brings that good competition and you get a good road. I wasn't going to continue after that, but Delegate Miller had a question earlier, and it was about, was Maryland a friendly state to do work in? And my company has some very recent personal experience with that. We've done business in Maryland for 50 years. We were one of the three main suppliers of Portland cement in Maryland for 50 years. We brought 400 to 500,000 tons of cement into Maryland in the good years, and we pulled out of Maryland in December. So our company, Lafarge Cement, pulled out. We still have holdings with concrete. We have holdings at Sparrows Point with slag cement. I was in the conversations when the environment, economic conditions started to go down, and it was tough for anybody in the construction industry. And you don't have an MBA have to have an MBA to take a look at it and say, if you don't have any residential and you don't have very much commercial, and all of the paving work is going asphalt, and we're going to the people in France saying we think we should stay in Maryland, and they're saying why? You don't have any segments of your market anymore. We don't want corporate welfare. We don't want somebody saying a certain percentage of all the work needs to be concrete. We want a fair chance to compete. And I feel this very personally because I had to watch a lot of my friends get laid off. And it's been a tough environment to be in. So I'm going to leave it at that, and I'm going to pass it on to Tom Evans.
Go ahead, sir.
Good afternoon. Thanks for the opportunity. My name is Tom Evans, and I'm the Executive Director for the Maryland Ready Mix Concrete Association. These guys are all active members of that organization. And as Henry did say, we have an excellent working relationship with Maryland State Highway Administration. We work with a number of their folks in the materials office and pavement design. And we hear from even a lot of the folks inside there that they think we could have longer lasting roads, and we should have longer lasting roads in some cases. So I think many of the folks within the department and even outside the department, as Steve said, feel there's something wrong with the system. Why do we have 98% of our roads covered in asphalt right now? And is it because of maintenance of traffic has such a high weight that we're afraid to shut the road down long enough to fix it properly? I'm not sure, but if you look at other states, and I'm only going to quote two states here, West Virginia, very close by, and Colorado. The last 4 highway paving projects in West Virginia were given fair opportunity. They call it alternate design, alternate bid. And those jobs saved the state $10 million. I'm not even going to tell you what the outcome of the pavement choice was, but because it was equal opportunity to bid, the state saved the money. Looking at Colorado, they've been incorporating a life cycle cost since '94. They've certainly changed it a few times to set different triggers, whether it be the value of the road project or the number of vehicles that are beyond that road. But they have still incorporated this, and they'll tell you things like it provides greater communication between the agency and the industries. It improves efficiency in the roadway performance. It keeps engineers current with regard to the progressive developments within materials and technology. It provides cost justification to key stakeholders. It helps extend the use of funds, as we've all been talking about here today. Creates a two-way feedback. Creates transparency and really protects the state. Would the Federal Highway Administration be advocating life cycle cost analysis if they didn't think it had a positive return on investment? Hardly. I really think that there are a number of things that are in the system that provide agencies like the State Highway Administration to make the right choices. We think this House Bill 1325 will help them. It'll be another tool that they can use to help make better decisions and spend the money that we hope we get better.